Today there are many new innovations in the sports world, especially pertaining to new types of fields. I'm talking about turf fields rather than the traditional grass fields. Although they may look nicer, they have a lot of problems with them and they end up being unsafe for players. Most of you guys have been able to step on these fields or even play on them before, and I think you'll agree with me that grass fields are better to play on, and all fields should be made of grass because there's less injury, less hazards, and they're also less expensive. The first problem with these fields is that they actually do more harm than good. The first problem is there's a heat problem coming off of the turf. It's actually a lot higher than grass. According to uark.edu, temperatures can reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit with an average of 157 degrees Fahrenheit for a daily high, which can cause problems like dehydration, especially when grass in the same conditions only reaches 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Coaches have tried irrigation experiments trying to cool the fields down, but it doesn't really work. It only works for a short period of time and it gets really hot again. Also, there's an increased risk for infections on the field because the fields can't decompose anything, and there's a higher risk for turf burns when you fall down, and when you fall down there's open wounds and you get things like staph and MRSA infections. As seen on MAH00080.MP4, studies have shown athletes who use synthetic turf are 7 times more likely to get burns than those who play on natural grass, which means basically there's more infections. It happens on grass fields too. You're going to get open wounds either way, but since normal grass can decompose things, there's a less risk for getting infections. And on top of that, there is actually more injuries on turf fields. According to uark.edu, there's data that artificial turf fields increase athlete injury due to increased surface hardness. Baseball example is baseball players wear cleats and it's harder to pivot and stuff, so it's easier to twist an ankle. You pretty much get stuck instead of tearing up grass or something like that. Due to the surface hardness also, it really takes a bigger toll on your body, so you're more susceptible to get more injuries because you're tired. And a survey on this from NFL players pretty much resulted in all of them saying that they prefer and think all fields should be made out of grass instead of turf. And another big issue is that turf fields have a lot of hazards to them. The first hazard is a lead hazard, and as stated in cbill.com, we know that turf products contain toxic chemicals associated with asthma, learning disabilities, and cancer. And the reason for this is there's ground up tires instead of dirt, pretty much for a filler, and they contain all these things. And another thing that contains is zinc, which is related to like cardiovascular problems. And there's other metals also, which are arsenic, chromium, and selenium. And the last hazard is the environmental health hazard. And as seen at njea.org, a natural grass field supports birds, animals, and insects. It generates oxygen, reduces greenhouse gases, and filters and purifies water, and artificial turf doesn't. And the reason for that is all these rubber pieces in there for the fillers instead of dirt. And lastly, grass is a lot less expensive than a turf field. A turf field is going to run you anywhere from $850,000 to $1 million, and then on top of that you have the maintenance expenses. And according to turfgrasssaw.org, Michigan State University spent $22,760 on the football field maintenance, and you can expect to spend $8,000 to $82,000 to purchase all the maintenance equipment necessary. So ultimately, turf fields are not even in comparison to grass fields. Grass fields are a lot better. Grass fields, they end up giving back to the environment, and there's not really any hazards with grass fields. So It's up to you. What would you prefer? A turf field that pretty much just pollutes the environment, or a grass field which is safe for players and ultimately gives back to the environment?